So the first thing I want to say with this image actually is how much I prefer the way that she's drawn this person's shirt compared to the way it looks in the photograph. Some of the highlights on here are beautiful, and I really have a sense of the fold and kind of movement going on in the t-shirt with the folds that she's portrayed, and just the way her pencil moves and the marks here, I think they're beautiful. So again, and like her highlight here is a bit stronger than it is there, but there is this strong highlight through this whole side, so it makes sense to have it there. And kind of it's just, I don't know, there's something very beautiful about this for me. There's an aesthetic here. There's a comfort, I feel like a very comfortable mark making going on here. She felt like this is something she knows how to do. Again, photo references are made to help you make the art you want to make, and you get to adjust and decide how it's going to work. Now, let's talk about measurements, because that's something she was looking at. So one thing I might have done for myself too is, well, let's first go, okay, this is a tangent. I've talked about that before. A tangent is where kind of an edge meets another edge, and it can be a distraction. So I actually like how in her image, she made a lot more room for the head. I think that's a really good idea. However, what I would have possibly also done is drawn a very soft line here to help me just see angles of the head and how it all fits, because it's a little bit off. There's a little bit of the head that's a little bit off. All right, you've got some shadow here that kind of moves like that. And this feels a little more severe and angled. I think it would kind of go down more like that. I also really like, you can clearly see that she was using some of the dark areas to help her place the face and the figure, and that's a really good strategy. That's using your negative space to help you figure out your figure. And I love how rich this is. She's really filled in her darks, and the I don't know if she's using like a 3 or 4B in here. It looks darker than a 2B, but maybe she just layered it well or blended it with a blending stump, but it looks really nice. Really rich quality and texture to this shading. So I wanted to make sure I highlighted that for you. So let's talk angles a bit. So here, the elbow and arm kind of move like this. And here, the arm should kind of move like this. Just as a side note, before I go back to the angles, I like, I actually really like very specifically how she used black ink in here to help her get her darkest darks. It's okay to mix media if it's going to help you achieve the values that you seek in your drawing. And it would be about incorporating them. So, you might put your darkest darks in this area. So here, there's something with our elbow and the angle of the elbow, and then the space created between his waist and the elbow. And it's clear she was looking at it, trying to figure out what was going on, but we've got a little bit of an angle concern there. So that's something I'd be tweaking for his anatomy. And also, his whole arm kind of feels like it's shrugged a bit and it's moved up. It would actually kind of come down a little bit more and be a little bit of a softer curve, I think. And then come down and around. And it might be also that the sleeve needs to be a little longer. It feels like it finishes longer than it is, and it should finish kind of in here where her highlights are, kind of in there. And then you barely see some of the hand. Same with this side. This is a little ambiguous, and I think I'd try to make it more clear what's the edge of the shirt and what's the start of the arm. And basically that would happen because if you look carefully, the whole edge of this shirt is a white highlight. So there's no line there. This is where lines are getting in the way again, right? There's no line here. There's a shape of white. There's a shape of white. And this is all kind of a white edge. And it almost blends into the road, right? Like it's the same tone as the road and it blends in. We don't have to create an edge there. We know it's an edge because our eye tells us, because we see the other shadows helping create the edge that exists. So we don't have to like make it super clear to people that that's the edge of something, because the highlight itself and because of the other information we have, we're going to know that the shirt ends there. Okay. So that does impact this area, right? We've got kind of a strong highlight in here, but then this whole shirt and arm is in shadow. And I think that would be more clear if the highlighted edges of that shirt were apparent. So that's actually not necessarily an angle concern. The only real angle issue I have is this arm. Everything else feels very much on point. I'm kind of curious if the length of the shirt is a little longer. It seems like this torso and figure might be a wee bit longer than our image reference here. I think it works, but I do think his torso might be a bit longer. And that's, again, like once we shorten the elbow here, we might shorten the shirt a bit, and that might all fit together. So I think this is a really good example of someone who's very carefully studied angles, right? You can see that these all kind of match. She's really focused on, a lot of people might accidentally just draw this leg straight up and down, but it's not, because we're seeing the figure at an angle, and there's different angles to the pant leg, and we've taken time to observe and study those things.